One of the more common questions that comes up is what should I do if I'm finding myself frequently getting angry with people? And just like most things in life, there are a bunch of different ways that you can approach it. And so let's talk through a few of them right now. One is, what makes you think that you shouldn't get angry with someone? There's all these tales of gurus in India and how they will have this sort of benevolent anger that they will unleash on a willing participant. And in that way, there may be an opportunity to think about whether or not you have some benevolence in your anger. And is there a way in which you can work through that anger and maybe engage with it in a way that doesn't seem destructive, but at least has some benevolent spin to it? Another thing that this makes me think of is I believe the Buddha said that holding on to anger is like holding a hot coal and expecting it to burn the other person. Or I don't know if he also said this or if this is another interpretation, that you're drinking poison expecting it to hurt someone else. And in this way, we get much closer to the idea of letting go, which is adjacent to Taoism, but I'll talk about that in a second. But this idea of the Buddha talking about what anger is actually doing to you and what it's actually not doing to the person who you are angry at. And I don't think that it's necessarily so disconnected from this idea of the gurus having this benevolent kind of anger that they find a way to sort of communicate to another person. Because in that way, they aren't holding on to anything. They aren't even trying to convey sort of a poison, if you will, but they have this more altruistic positioning to it, such that it's not even a hot coal or it's not even poison to even be relaying. And so I think that there's more similarities in those two approaches than it might seem at first glance. Now, with Taoism, you think about being in the flow and taking things as they come and staying present in the moment. And there's going to be moments of frustration and anger, and that's the way in which that just sort of plays into the nature of it all, and that is an emotion, and that's a feeling, and that's a reaction. And if you are in flow, there may be a way in which that takes shape and form. Now, if we think about being like water, like the Tao talks about, and finding ways to yield and relent and find the path of least resistance, this is where you may uncover that you're being angry. The moment that it becomes forceful, that you certainly aren't in line with the Tao and aren't taking the path of least resistance. And so that might be an opportunity to change course or think of another way. Not even think of another way. Let flow. Follow the flow, as the flow will be taking you a different way. And then the last thing that I would think of is my axiom for reality, which is that this is all an illusion. We're playing a trick on ourselves. This is a game that we're playing. And the purpose of the game is to have different experiences. And one of those experiences as a human is finding yourself angry at others. But there's a level to which you can recognize the illusion and the experience of it all and not take it so seriously as, again, when we think about force, like we talked about in the Tao, and how that suddenly gets away from being in the flow because the flow is not forceful. And in the same way, when you are having this experience, you having the experience is one level. That's very much in this sort of physical reality that we think we're having, that the thing that we're being tricked into, that's being said, take this very seriously and put importance on everything that is being done and said, that reality. You can very much have that emotion and feel those feelings and have that experience, because if that the purpose is to have the experience, then you are fulfilling that, if you will. But on the other side of it, you can also look at it and say, this is very funny that I'm taking this very seriously and I'm letting my blood pressure get up and I can feel it. My breath is getting shallow and quick and my heart is pounding and I can feel me taking this illusion very, very seriously and getting very caught up in this moment. And you can also laugh at it from that level. And that may offer you some distance between that very physical illusion reality, if we can call something that, versus letting yourself get completely swept up and carried away in just that illusory moment of feeling and anger. So those are a few thoughts that I have on it. I think that they all very much feed and interweave with each other. I don't think that they are disconnected in any way. I think that there is a lot of overlap there, and where you find the sort of stack of the overlap, that's the center from which you can take hold.